For going into test doubles, we need to understand what legacy code is. Because usually we end up writing test cases for legacy code. We don't always get opportunity to work with a greenfield project where we can start with test-driven development. And the code usually is not in a good form and we need to refactor it and we need to add test cases. So what is legacy code? There are various definitions of legacy code. So the code which is something not supported, which is no longer in development, we can call it as legacy code. Or the code which is written in old programming language, or it is having old techniques used, then you can call it as legacy code. And something which is difficult to modify, very tightly coupled, like bad architecture code, where even if you try to modify a thing at a single point of time, it can have side effects on entire code and you can have a risk of introducing additional defects. That's why it's very difficult to modify. And anything which is not written by us, written by someone else, some third party, you can call it as legacy code. But the best definition of legacy code, which is given by Michael Feathers in his book, who is the author of the book Working Effectively with Legacy Code. The definition is legacy code is code without test. So it means if you have written any code and it is not having any unit test case along with it, then you can call it as legacy code. Even if you have unit test case, but the test case is not of good quality, it does not make any sense, then you can call it as legacy code. And to go to extreme, suppose you have written a code just 5 minutes back, just production code 5 minutes back, but you have not written a test for it, then also you can call it as legacy code. So this is interesting definition. It tells something you have to deal with which is not covered by the test cases. You can call it as legacy code. And for this, we are now we are going to deal with the test doubles, where we are going to isolate dependencies for dealing with that legacy code. Even for writing a new code also, you may end up having some dependencies. So there is a typical dilemma of legacy code, which is mentioned by Michael Feathers in these words. When we change code, we should have test in place. But to put test in place, we should change the code often, because it happens that code is not written such a manner that we can easily write a test case for it. It is having too tightly coupled objects. We are not able to inject those dependencies from the test cases. So we have to refactor it. We have to redesign it. So always it's not possible you write test and then refactor. Many times we end up doing refactoring first and then the test case. That is a typical dilemma programmers need to have, they deal with. So dealing with legacy code is pain of every programmer, right? We usually face this problem. Now, if we have this, and if you are supposed to write a test cases for a legacy code, how you can do it? For new code, anyways, you will have dependencies, you will handle them. But for legacy code also you will need. For that, you need testable. And in now next article, you are going to read about testables. And in the upcoming articles, we will see in detail what each testable means. That's it for now. Stay tuned.